Okay, now I want to take a look at masking out the noise here. So basically I want to have less noise on the tusks, the ears, and on the tail, these kind of thin parts which, might get we might lose them with too much noise applied to them. So I'm going to come to after the sculpt, and I'm going to drop something called the attribute paint. And with this node, we can paint onto the surface any attribute. So we declare the attribute. Well, here by default, it will make an attribute called mask, but I think we can, you can do anything. So you could use, for example, noise here or whatever. But we're going to stick with this mask. I've just done it by accident, but that's what we want to do, in fact, is I'm just going to come in here again, just click on the gizmo there, scroll up on my mouse and just start to paint the ears, and you might get the background in. I think if you just middle mouse button, that should work. If not, come here, middle mouse button. Oh, there we go. So if you control a middle mouse, that will erase. There we go. Okay. Oops, pressing the wrong button there. Control, paint that out. I meant to press Alt. Okay, and then I'm going to paint this one in as well. No need to hold Shift like as when you're doing a selection, as we're painting here. So I want to get them. I want to get the tusks. As well. Don't have to be too exact with this. It's a bit hard to see here because the normals are reversed. It's just a mistake in the geometry. Okay, yeah, we'll be blurring this later, so don't worry too much about being super accurate. And there we go, just the tail as well. That's got on both sides, I think. Let's turn the lighting off. There we go. Okay, so we got some values there, and that's set to mask. So if we go into our geometry spreadsheet, you can see we've got this mask attribute with values between 0 and 1. And we lose that when we're not painting, but we can visualize it. If you come into your information here and just click on mask, that will generate your visualizer there. And what we need to do is convert this into points. So if we drop a scatter, okay, and you can see that that's picking up by default, it's picking up that that attribute. And we could just leave this at default, I think. Connect that up to the cloud noise. Visualize that. And put our lighting back on. And then if I turn on this noise mask, you can see we're getting something, but yeah, this value. So we're looking for this noise attribute, which we don't have, but we do have this mask attribute. So just type in a mask there. There we go. So now what we're doing is we've got noise where we've painted and nothing anywhere else. So we don't want that. We want the opposite. The reason I did that was because, it'd be more awkward to paint the rest of this as opposed to the ears and the nose and the tusk and the tail, right? But what we can do is it's very easy to fix. It's just we use an attribute remap. There. Okay, and just press escape because we're trying to build this volume each time. And so in the attribute remap, we want the working on the name, the mask attribute, and I want to use this ramp. So to invert it, I take everything that's 0 and change it to 1, and everything that's 1, change it to 0. So that's inverted. But I still want a little bit of noise on the tail and on these other parts. So I'm going to raise that up a bit. Maybe we'll try like half. So we have half the noise there. So let's try that. Okay, so there we're kind of maintaining those basic forms in the tusk and so forth. I think another thing I'd like to do is have more noise on the legs. So, you know, instead of kind of dropping the value everywhere else, what we can do is just push the values on the legs up to 2. So if I take after the remap, take another attribute paint. And then I'm going to set this to 2 so that we're painting, you know, higher values. Visualize that again. But we're not going to see it here because our visualizer, if we come here, right click, check here, and then go to max and set this to 2. And we're changing, you know, the visualization here. So max here, this is 2, this is 1, and this is 0. So I'm going to paint my legs in red here. So I'm painting values of 2 onto the legs. I scroll up to make this bigger. We kind of just generally go over the legs. I don't think I want to include the belly, so Control, middle mouse button. I will delete that. There we go. And then I'm going to do one more. I'm going to just alt click and drag on this. And let me go to reset all changes, because you can see it's applying that 2 times there. And I'm going to set the tusks here to 0, because at the tip there I noticed they were kind of blown out and looked a bit weird. So I'm going to just come here, go to brush and set set this to 0. And then just kind of get the tips of the tusks like that. Okay, and then I'm also going to do just kind of doing a form of noise on the legs. You know, really I should be using kind of a procedural noise, but it's easier just to paint a couple of patches here, just so we get a nice kind of lumpy effect with the legs. Okay, there we go. So visualize that. Should see it there. Okay, and then see that we should see the effect of that in our noise. Okay, maybe raise the resolution. And turn off the limit resolution there. There we go, we're seeing something cool. And now we'll be raising this resolution again, but we've got a little bit of noise there. We've got the nice kind of sharp tips on the tusks. The legs are kind of pushed around a little bit. I think what I will do is drop the amplitude down a bit. 175. There we go, that's a bit nicer, a bit more subtle. We'll be adding more noise on top of this, so you know, we want to maintain that shape as much as we can towards the end.